Kevin. I tell you what, man, I love it when the weather changes in Texas, but I always get sick. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's like that time of year.
Yep. I don't know what it is about when everything switches from being like dumb hot to dumb cold. That just allergies or something. But I always tend to get sick, and it sucks having a job like this where you can't exactly be like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do any work today. I think I'm just going to rest and recuperate. It's like, no, you're not.
You can benchmark how popular or how social someone is based on how rapidly they catch a cold when the cold season starts.
Oh,
because it means you're out more. Like me, I never go anywhere, so sometimes I never catch anything.
Well, I never go anywhere either, but I catch stuff all the time. I don't know, maybe my dog's giving it to me, but welcome everybody to Rage Select. It's time for the podcast. I'm Jeff, and I've got Kevin with me. Kevin's been like 2 weeks, I guess, since you've been on? Or?
Yeah, at least 2, maybe 3, something like that.
Nick and Jason. And we've got a whole bunch of news to go over with you guys today for the video game industry. We've also got some emails from folks, but before we do that, Kevin, what have you been up to in these last couple weeks?
Not too much. I've been playing that Corpse Party on the Vita, which is actually an old PSP game. It's a really creepy game, which I wouldn't think would be so creepy because it's like all that anime, manga type art. But game is creepy. It's just a creepy game.
I've heard about that. I've heard about that game, but I never got a chance to play it because it was just, it was one of those things where you're like, do I really want to play something on the PSP? No, right. I really don't want to.
Yeah, at that, and just the usual, getting ready for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yep, this is the last week of rest before. I guess next week will be kind of our final week before it goes into overdrive for the next 2 weeks. But what are you? We asked last week on our show whether people wanted to see us do like an unboxing video, and everybody was just like, "No, nobody wants that." Which is good because I don't want to have to go pick up my console at midnight launch and then bring it home and then just have the box sitting there and be like, well, I guess I got to wait until tomorrow so Jason and I can do an unboxing video. Fuck that. I want to rip it open like it's fucking Christmas and plug it in. And
yeah, I'm really sort of, I'm getting both, right? And I'm a little bit, I don't have the real estate to have all these consoles. So I got to put them, I've got to put the Xbox away, I think. I mean, I think I can take the PlayStation 3 and throw it on a TV in another room because it's got a Blu-ray player on it. But I'm thinking I'm going to have to put the Xbox 360 to bed. I have another one, so that doesn't quite sound as dire as you might think. But the one that I keep under my TV has got to go away because there's just not enough room. I can't have, 5 consoles. But the Wii U is making me think too that I might turn the PlayStation 4 on, play it like a couple of times, and then not use it again for like a year because I just don't know how the launch titles. I'm not that excited about most of the launch titles. I had that Rise pre-order, and I heard the reviews of the demo were horrible.
Yeah.
For the Xbox, and I canceled that. So now I'm just getting Battlefield for the Xbox and Killzone for the.
What about Dead Rising? Dead Rising 3.
I gotta wait on Dead Rising.
Yeah,
I just gotta wait. I've heard good things, but
yeah,
they got rid of the time limits, so that's kind of cool, I guess. But I still I gotta wait and see with that one.
Yeah, I mean, are you more excited for one or the other, or at this point it's I guess for folks like us, we've been through enough launches that's kind of like old hat. You're not sitting there frothing at the mouth like, oh my god, I gotta go to the midnight launch. I have to stand outside. I gotta sit in a chair and camp out for 24 hours to get this console. It's like, no, just pre-order it and get it.
Yeah, I'm not really excited. I do want to play. I mean, I like anybody. I don't think the Kinect is going to do anything, where I'm going to really want to play games on it. But I do want to see how accurate the new technology is with it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see if it's really an improved experience over what it used to be. So I'm interested in doing that. And I'm really interested in a lot of the store games, the whatever you want to call it, the App Store, the arcade or whatever, because there's a lot of good titles for both systems listed there. And so I'm kind of interested in some of those more than I am some of these bigger launch titles that I think they seem a little bit rushed, and I don't know.
I think that we talked about it when it happened, or I don't know if I've talked with you about it yet. I get confused sometimes about my entire job these days is just jabbering into the internet, so I sometimes forget who I've said what to, because my entire job description is just talk, keep talking nonstop. But I think that the movement, the delay of Watch Dogs really put the kibosh on my excitement for the next gen, because that was the one that
I think it did it for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the title that I was really looking forward to, and now it's like, well, I can get Assassin's Creed 4 and check out what the newer version looks like, but I spent the last 20 hours, last 4 days just mainlining that game. I don't really have any interest in going back to it.
I mean, there's a lot of games listed that are, coming, but, you go on Amazon or something and you look at the release dates and they always say December 2014 or something, because they don't really know.
Right.
And it's like, I just, I don't know what to get excited about. That's just the problem. I know it will happen. I know we're going to get those great games and everything, new Mass Effect talk and all that kind of stuff going on. But do you have? Do you have? Be in the holding pattern.
Do you have any? Do you get excited anymore at just the idea of because there's always that other aspect of just UI and how's the friends list going to work and what cool things can I stream stuff or things like that.
I mean, the Vita thing where I can play the games on the Vita will be great for me, in the house, that kind of thing, being upstairs with the thing downstairs and being able to keep playing the games. That's pretty cool. I have no intention of pressing that button on the PlayStation 4 to stream my video out to the internet. I mean, that just sounds like it's just going to slow down whatever frame rate I'm going to need to survive in whatever game I'm playing.
Well, there's actually, that's starting to become really big business. I was checking it out, and I think we reported on it, maybe not, but that NVIDIA is putting that shit into the latest GeForce graphics package. The driver package has now both a capture option, and then there's supposedly sometime in November supposed to be adding a streaming option to it as well. So it's everything these days is just, do you want to stream it? Stream it,
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. I guess what I'm saying, I don't mind that that's there. It has its utility and all that sort of thing. But I play I use the system to play the game, not so much to distribute whatever fan-made Minecraft building that I built or anything like that. I just kind of want to play the game. So I'm in a different boat. I think maybe kids today, they want to be that social, but it's like baby pictures or, vacation films or something. No one's really going to watch your stuff. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, the entirety of live streaming, and we did a couple of live streams on Rage Selected. People actually really liked them, but it still comes down to it's like Twitter for me. I'm still an old man, and just that I'm nobody wants to watch me just fucking play a video game. And then the response always comes back yeah, we totally want to watch you play a video game. And I'm like, why? I'm just,
Yeah, but you're funny. I mean, the people. Listen, I would watch somebody play a game if it's humorous. That's fine, because if I'm getting a big laugh out of it, DSP on YouTube, I'll watch him. He's funny sometimes, but that guy also plays 40 hours of video game. I'm not watching hour 16 or anything. I watch the first one, and then I'm done with it. I'm moving on.
Yeah,
it's just how it is. But I don't know, when little kids are doing it all over the place, and I don't know what YouTube and things are thinking, that they think that's going to be a great idea. They're going to just have petabytes of 6-year-olds uploading, just streaming video constantly to their servers. They're just going to be maybe we should just start locking this off, because this content is useless.
Well, I think they are. I mean, YouTube, of course, if you stream anything on YouTube that is copyrighted, it's in the
right.
in the streaming thing, they'll just shut it down and then strike your account immediately.
Right.
I mean, with Twitch, it's a little bit different because they, as far as I could tell, maybe I don't have it turned on anymore, but it seems like they don't auto capture what you stream anymore. So I don't know if that's still a thing that they're doing. But yeah, that's the whole movement of live streaming stuff is just kind of weird, and I mean, I guess I did a little test with Battlefield 4, and we had people who showed up, and they seemed to like what we were doing. So I don't know. We'll probably have to do more of it. I was actually surprised in looking at how like I downloaded XSplit last week and started looking at it, and XSplit used to be a kind of a weird mid-tier like workaround for capturing footage off of your PC and streaming it, but now that shit is the broadcaster is like a really fully functional piece of software where you can like integrate a webcam of yourself and it'll do on the fly green screening and all this shit. So I don't know. We're looking into doing more of that because people seem to really like it. Anything to keep people around, hanging out and watching us. So.
Sure, absolutely.
Cool. Well, how about it's the other thing we got? I'm sure I talked to you again before then, but we got Thanksgiving coming up. You got any big Thanksgiving plans?
No, I mean, I was going to host my family Thanksgiving at my house, but since we're still in the moving stage of getting my mom's furniture basically into my house, no, not going to have it. Not going to happen this year. So probably just something small at home.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Do you get
do you do you fly back to Dayton or whatever? And,
nah. My folks and I trade off holidays, so they'll be coming down to Austin this year. But for Thanksgiving, we broke that a long time ago. I'll probably go into Grant has a little Thanksgiving get together that I'll probably go to, and then like last year, my sister and I just found a restaurant that was open on the day of Thanksgiving. Well,
Was it a Chinese restaurant?
I wish.
Like the joke?
No, it was actually this like comfort food chain here in Austin called Threadgills.
Okay.
That had a little Thanksgiving thing. But see, the problem is that my sister and I will get together and we'll do like a breakfast. It's one of the big things in my family is we always make breakfast and we always make big dinner, no lunch in between or whatever. But the problem is that because, we're both generally just hanging out, not doing a whole lot on Thanksgiving, we'll end up eating like a shit ton of breakfast food at like 11 a.m. And so by the time that like 6 or 7 comes around, we both look at each other and go, dude, I'm not even remotely hungry right now. So we ended up last year eating our Thanksgiving dinner at like 8:30 or 9 or something at this place that was open until 10, and it was fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I'm more militant about Christmas, Kevin. I got to have one good turkey a year, and my mom and my dad, my sister are all super great cooks. I don't, I make with the.
What about Black Friday? Do you ever feel motivated to just go and wait to get like $20 off a game or anything like that?
God, no. Hell no. Fuck that, man. Like sometimes they will have. I mean, I've seen people before about these Black Friday deals where they have, here's a TV that's blah blah off. But I tell you, Kevin, like I'm a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy, so it's not like I have. A bunch of money saved up to go buy stuff. I generally just get the things that I need when I need them. I can't. It's like if the TV that I use to play games for review on was to break for any reason, I can't wait until Black Friday to get a deal on a TV. I need a TV right fucking now.
Right.
So generally, I mean, it comes. I went to one Black Friday a long time ago where I got my own very first PC computer was a deal at Best Buy for like $200 or $300 that I had saved up, and I went and got it, brought it home, set it up. And as always happens when you get super excited about something, I brought it home, set it up, and was immediately disappointed at how slowly it ran games and was like, shit, I need to go spend another $150 on a 3D card or something.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you do Black Friday?
I did once. I bought my second high-definition TV, my first flat-screen high-definition TV at Walmart on a Black Friday. Because back then, when these things were first out, they were crazy expensive. So you could shave off like $300 or something on one. You're like, I had to go, man. I was tired.
Yeah,
it was cold.
Yep.
And I was just standing out there. I'm like, this is horrible. And you like watch people because some people look like they're gonna like cut in line and stuff.
Yep.
And you got to get all bitter and stare at them like, you better not think about it, pal.
Oh, those
and
fuck, man. Those videos that I've seen online of like people at Walmart on a Black Friday, like. It's like the embodiment of all of the worst parts of capitalism. It's like people elbowing each other and fights breaking out. It's like, dude, it is just a television. Like, it's a really good TV, okay, fine, whatever. But like, seriously, people get so rabid about that stuff that it just freaks me out. I'm like, I don't want to be any of that.
They have like independent stores now or something like that. That's like Saturday or something. That's like something new they're trying to do. Like, go to like the smaller stores on a Saturday, and then you got Cyber Monday.
Yep. Good old Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday is sort of I don't know. Amazon was trying to do something with it, but now I go online. I'm like, all these prices are pretty much the same. Like there's nothing's changed.
Sometimes they have really good deals, but I'll tell you what the problem that I have with Amazon and their bullshit is that for most of the years, it's this dumbass like this thing goes on sale with a limited quantity at 3:00, and so
yes, right.
And, like
yeah.
I look at that stuff, and they have like the little hints on there, like and like at 6:00. Certain blue rodent makes his way into the. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's a Sonic game, Amazon. We know what it is. Just say what it is. But
yeah,
I get personally morally outraged that Amazon wants me to sit there refreshing their page with their dumb timer countdown. I mean, don't get me wrong, we got a timer on Rage Select for our T-shirts, but it's a week-long timer. It's not like, hey, this is on sale for an hour. I hate that flash sale stuff just because the act of buying something, like I guess I was talking with somebody a few weekends ago about this. I don't like shopping, Kevin. It's not. I don't derive pleasure from finding a good deal or like, oh, I got this new thing. I just, like when I go to the store to buy pants, I don't try them on. I don't shop. I just go to the jeans and I pick up 3 pairs of the jeans that I know fit me and then go home. And look, there's a T-shirt.
Right.
It'll be fine. I don't derive any real enjoyment from like, where'd you get that shirt? That's such a good shirt. Like, just don't give a fuck. Just don't give a fuck. So I don't know. Maybe some leftover anti-consumer fight the man stuff from when I was a teenager, but just never really got into it.
Right.
I will say though that it does mark though the holidays and the holiday sales coming around marks the most depressing part for me of video game buying in the year when Steam has they'll have their winter sale, right?
Sure.
And I'll look through the stuff that's on sale and I'll go, I got that, I got that, I got that, I got that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I already got all those.
Yeah, Steam and Humble Bundle just killing me. They're just always just throwing things at me that I just have to get, and it's just like the Warner Brothers, I think, is on Humble Bundle right now. So you get Arkham City and Asylum and some other WB games I can't even remember, and it's only like $4 or something.
Yeah, it's all like, I almost picked it up.
Say no.
I wanted to pick that up just because the Fear games were on there.
Right, yeah.
I already own the others, but if I could pick up all 3 Fear games for, $4, that's the sort of thing where I just go, yeah, I've got to have all 4 of those Fear. I will never play them, but I want to have them just in case.
Yeah, and you can give the other ones away, basically, because they give you just like links to either a download and and a serial number or some sort of Steam code or something that you can just give to somebody. So that it's just so tempting, all the time. And then I don't end up playing them most of the time.
Well, of course not.
Because they've got other stuff to play. So it's free money for them and just intellectual property that I have to will someone at some point when I die.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you, right before we get into the news, the only other thing I wanted to quiz you about is, have you been into any of the big new releases that have been out in the last couple of weeks?
I don't think so.
Arkham City, Battlefield, Assassin's Creed, any of that stuff?
No, I played Lost Planet 3. That was horrible. I have Killer is Dead. That's next on my list.
That's pretty horrible. Well,
yeah,
Suda 51. It's Suda 51, so
Yeah, no. So no. But I'm to be honest, I'm right smack dab in that whole moving my mom thing right now, and I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and transition over into some news. The news is a little bit slow, but I've managed to dig up a few stories. The first one is more of a conversation starter than anything that people need to hear about. But apparently, following all of the glitches in the launch of Batman Arkham Origins, Warner Brothers has issued a public apology. So this is problems from both the console and the PC releases. And they say that they're working on a software update to be available within the next week. As the thing is, I played this on the PC, but I know a lot of people, there was somebody who wrote into us who said that they had a save game of this, that after 10 or 15 hours or something like that, the game corrupted, and it was basically like, start over. There was
this is the new Batman, right?
Yeah.
I heard that game is just kind of ho-hum. Is that true? I mean,
that was my take on it. I was very ho-hum about it. And it's a very divisive game because I feel like this game in particular has pitted very much people who are Batman fans who just don't want to hear you say anything bad about Batman against. I don't don't know. Like, somebody wrote on my Facebook, and their name is out there. When we put up the review for Batman Arkham Origins, they said, Jeff, I'm very disappointed in you about this review. And I was just like, why? It's such a weird sentiment to me, that disappointed. Like, I don't know. The game didn't really work for me. So I didn't really enjoy it as much. I don't really know what that has to do with anything, but
right. Now you hate Batman.
You
want to destroy the Batman franchise.
I have an extremely complicated relationship with Batman, because I like Batman, Kevin, but I'm not willing to give Batman a pass when it's not good. And I'm not the sort of person who just instantly looks at anything Batman and goes, yeah, totally Batman. But you know what? The thing that I really wanted to kind of bring up around this was, in your time, I kind of wanted to get your take on this, because I only had one glitch that was really super prevalent in the PC version of the game. And it did gate me from finishing the Riddler bugs, or the Riddler trophies. But I didn't factor those bugs into my score of the game. And I guess what I wanted to ask you is to get your take, is I generally tend not to I kind of try to imagine what the game is like without bugs, because it's very possible that a game might get patched eventually. And so then if you take all the launch day bugs into account in your review, it's possible that somebody coming at it at a later date might find your review to be wholly inaccurate, because it's referring to problems that no longer exist in the game. And I'm kind of curious what your methodology is as far as bugs and reviews go.
I personally have always felt that you're spending the most money at launch, and you've got to tell people the bugs, and you got to say this game's buggy, in your review. And if later somebody reads your review and those don't apply, then they can mentally adjust the score. Because, I definitely think they deserve to take a hit on it, personally. Because, later when that guy buys the game, he's going to get it for $20 or something, you know what I mean? Or he's going to get it on a Steam sale or a Humble Bundle for $4.
Right. And
it's not even going to matter at that point to him. But the guy that went out and spent $50 or $60 for it, I think you should know. Especially if it's corrupting your save file, man.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. They couldn't catch something like that in playtesting.
It also brings up an interesting topic of saying, how at this particular point in video game history, should we be giving developers any kind of latitude when it comes to that kind of day one bug? Should they be basically held to, if you can't put out a game that is that is fully playable and doesn't have these sorts of issues, that it should have been delayed? Should we be saying that it should be delayed instead of released because it had these problems when it launched?
I especially for a PC game, I just think that the patch process should be much faster.
Oh yeah.
That's they know there's a problem. I'm a coder. I code, and I know it's not necessarily evil, but it should be like an all hands on deck freaking emergency to fix that problem and send it out, because you're talking about a product that's making, in the case of Batman, millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And you tell me that, what do they all do? They all just go on vacation? There's just 3 guys still in the office, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And you don't see the patches for, months sometimes. And it's I don't know. I just think it's unbelievable. I really think that bugs like that should be play tested out. You can't stop some. You're never going to catch everything. There's going to be some problems that, through weird combinations you're going to be able to find and are not find. But something that obvious to me. Or the one in, what was it? People were playing the new Skyrim or whatever on the PC, and it was slowing down when you had too many, you played it for too many items.
Okay, that's the PS3 version, and that one I can understand, because that bug would not come up unless you had been playing the game for 10 to 12 hours. And
all right, we talked about this.
Yeah,
right.
Having come from a QA side, there's no way to really spend that much time on one build of a game, because who knows if the build tomorrow is totally not gonna have that problem in it. It's probably something never. I don't even know. The Bethesda maybe has a different QA agenda or a different QA process than I've seen before, but I could say that from my time in QA, we would never spend 12 hours just playing that game to see if anything came up after that time.
I think it may be just a problem in the gaming industry in the sense of these deadlines. You have to have a deadline in order to get a game done, because otherwise it'll never get done.
Sure.
But at the same time, there needs to be some sort of leeway in order to make sure that the game is of the right quality. Like if you look at the Orange Box, when that was released on the PlayStation 3, it was a disaster. Mm-hmm. They had a bunch of huge problems with it. And you could simply say to yourself, well, if I load that game on the PlayStation 3 and I load that game on PC or the Xbox 360, if the experience is terrible, then why would I release that? Yeah. It makes no sense to me that they just release stuff that's not ready to go. Maybe they should take away bonuses from people unless the game is good, and then or released on time. But if they release it on time and it's got a bug, everybody gets a big bonus hit, and then maybe they wouldn't find these bugs. Yeah. Something like that. They got to be creative is all I'm trying to say, because the way it's currently working, it's screwing the consumer more than anything else.
Yeah, that's very true. There was a lot of people who I talked to in the past who had predicted essentially this type of doom and gloom, that being able to have a day one patch for a video game, which most games seem to have these days, it was necessarily going to lower how vigilant they had to be about QA beforehand, because you can always patch it up after the fact, so they could release stuff as opposed to the PlayStation 1 day, where if you released a PlayStation 1 game and it was broken, it was just broken. Like you couldn't get a patch, it was just fucking broken is all. And you return to the store. I mean, even back in the old days of the PC, before before the internet was super prevalent, it was the same way. If you released something and there was a problem like that, like if this Batman, the PC version that I got of Arkham Origins had been released, the PS2, early PS2, PC, early internet era, there's this bug in there where you can't finish this one objective. There'd be a real possibility that would never get fixed, and that this game would just be broken. I don't know. There was a game not that long ago. Maybe it was PlayStation 2 era. I just recall something. It was like a Madden or something where it was broken of some sort, and they had some sort of exchange thing or a patch disc or something that you had to go into GameStop to get. Can't remember it, but it was all messed up. Like you had to seriously go and get in a car and go talk to somebody at GameStop in order to solve your problem. God damn, what is this, fucking caveman times? Seriously. All right, well, our next story is kind of a tragedy, and I think it's I don't know, get your take on this, but did you hear about this Jedi Games giving away Steam keys for the Blackwell deception? And they had some problems, and they shut it down, and then folks went in and were using IP spoofing or something, or they didn't have IP tracking or something. They stole 30,000 Steam keys from this little indie developer that was trying to give away. I absolutely love those Jedi games. We interviewed that guy with your former employer, who will remain anonymous, for the very early show that we used to do on another website that we can't talk about anymore. And that was one of the first interviews we did that was never released, because the guy that did that show would lose things. But anyway, we totally interviewed him. And I love those games. I played all those games. And that's crazy that he lost all. Was it the Steam keys just for his games, or did he somehow have keys for other people's games? Well, okay, so I think it's just for his games, but I'm just going to read directly off of this from Joystick. The problem was even bigger at first, as founder Dave Gilbert discovered that after issuing a press release to the media about the giveaway earlier this week, the generated keys unlocked Jedi Games' entire catalog. After sorting that issue out, Gilbert discovered that buyers were, quote, ordering multiple copies of the game, hundreds at a time, and collecting Steam keys for reselling later. So it looks like I didn't even look at this process when it was up. But yeah, they shut it down, and that stuff got, and basically he asked Steam to not try to bang on the people who had already cashed it in. They tried to invalidate all of the keys that hadn't already been cashed in, but then it looks like he asked Steam to not try to come down on people who had already cashed in the keys they had already gotten.
Sure.
So I don't know. It kind of seems like it went all right. It's just kind of a shame to see, a little smaller indie developer, kind of get slammed like that. Like,
yeah, I was trying to do something nice and give away keys, and then people came in and just, welcome to the internet.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to really get that much money for those Wadget games. I mean, they're just little adventure games. You know what I mean? They're not really going to have a huge market for buying all of those or anything.
Oh, they did Gemini Rue. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Gemini Rue. I thought it was a really cool game. So I don't know. Kind of a shame. Don't be a dick, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, just don't be a dick on the internet, because then
play the Blackwell games if you like point and click adventure games. Though they've revitalized the not you, Jeff, people out there.
Yeah,
they've revitalized the point and click adventure and made it much more fun and sensible. Totally fun.
Have you played the Deponia games, Kevin?
No.
Okay, so there's 3 of those now, and there was one that was on sale a couple weeks ago, and it looked interesting, but I miss being able to go play games that aren't like whatever the game that came out this week was. I mean, I know that time of the year, but it's like, well, I finished Assassin's Creed, time for Battlefield, and then we'll go into Call of Duty, and by that time, Dead Rising 3 and Killzone will be out, and blah, 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 blah. All right, well, next up on the hit parade, Microsoft has announced that Xbox will have a program to give free access to Unity to indie developers for the Xbox One. Which I don't
kind of a good deal. I'm involved in that game making thing, that St. Christopher's School lockdown, and those Unity licenses are expensive for an indie developer. It's like $1,000 or something like that in order to just open it up for like Android or something like that. I don't know what the Xbox 360 one is, but it can be very expensive. So
now
to just throw that in is kind of cool.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know much about it. Does it support? Is it mostly just like a 2D app thing, or will it support full like 3D? Like, say you want to could you make Killzone with the Unity development kit or game engine?
I think so. Yeah, I think you could. It has all of that, but it's a cross-platform deal thing too, so you can make something and then obviously tweak it or whatever for the. It's a big deal though. It's like a lot of people, even like in the commercial universe, are tinkering with it and using it. If you go on like any of the cooler Android games, are made with Unity right now.
Okay.
So it's got some teeth, but like anything, I think it's also going to continue to evolve. But it's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean,
I think this is I mean, watching this Xbox One thing has just been fucking hilarious. But I think this is a smaller story that kind of slips under the radar. But I think it's good because I think it shows that they really are trying to get into parity with Sony as far as indie development goes. They at first
the only thing that I just want to say really quick about that Microsoft indie thing though is that you just can't be like an indie developer and go in and sign up for that and get that. Like, you have to be screened and approved, and you also have to have a track record of already producing an indie title, and it has to match the desires of whatever Microsoft wants it to be. So it's but if you do qualify, they send you 2 development kits for the Xbox One.
Nice.
So kind of a big bonus to you as well that you get those and Unity. But yeah, I mean, if you're just working on, the Jeff and Jason drinking game, you're not going to get it. You're not getting that stuff.
We already released that one. It's called Open the Beer, Drink All the Beer, You Win. Yeah, I guess there was some few people out there who were talking about like they, maybe that Microsoft will try to use this as a tool to force developers to do things that they want them to do or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, at this point, I feel like I know we touch on it all the time, but I really feel like the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 is really going to be shepherding in kind of, the second golden age of PC gaming, because they're just PCs. Between these and the Steam box and, the fact that you can get a pretty decent gaming PC for, I mean, more than either of these consoles, probably more than both put together, but still not a not as much as it used to cost or whatever, but it just seems like, as long as we're making x86 PC development tools that, so Xbox wants to be horsey with you about releasing your indie game. Well, you've got the PlayStation, you've got Steam, you've got, other avenues to do it. So, well,
I'm looking forward to this next generation being more dominant by independent gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen, independent gaming over the years has always just been like, if you could get some programming skill and write a video game engine from scratch, to do it, because you don't have the resources to make anything else. And now we have game engines like Unity and probably some of these things like Unreal Engine are affordable now. I don't know. They've always been way out of the ballpark, though, for independent developers. Mm-hmm. And now they're not. And so, we're seeing a lot more story-driven game, and we're seeing things that can be put together by very small teams that are really high quality.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's just going to continue to spread, and we'll get less Angry Birds and more Skyrim or first-person shooter clones or that sort of stuff. I mean, it's still early days,
yeah.
But a few years from now and a few more years from now, I think it's really going to be quite a different playing field out there.
Different landscape. You think we're going to start to see the crumbling of the old empires, or not even not to dust, but just that you're going to start to see some of those profits from the EAs and the Activision starting to be a little bit slightly undercut by. I mean, Jason and I just did a review for Assassin's Creed 4, right? And my biggest problem with Assassin's Creed 4 was it just felt like they were making the same game for the 6th time, So
right.
I'd be much more interested in playing some indie, weirdness that was trying something like the Stanley Parable, or I played that game Eldritch on Steam, which is like a Minecraft Cthulhu game. I mean, these things just show more, less playing it safe and more of a desire to get out there and try some fucking crazy shit. And I have always want to support people that want to get out there and try the crazy shit, because they're the ones that are really going to end up doing the stuff that's going to push us all forward. Like, somebody on the last podcast we were on, Kevin, I think was saying that they're tired of hearing us talk about the Oculus Rift. Well, too bad, suckers, talking about the Oculus Rift. But who the fuck would have thunk in the year 2013 that we'd be seeing a resurgence of all that VR bullshit from back in the late 80s, early 90s? Like, I thought that technology was dead and gone, but you got some crazy motherfuckers out there that are like, we could do this now. Hey, that's the sort of thing that could change the entire landscape of the games forever. So.
Well, when we were talking about that one time, there's a new product out there that's kind of like the Oculus Rift, but it's like what you and I were discussing, where you can actually see through the glasses, and it provides the overlay, so it puts the graphics over real objects in your field of vision.
Ugh.
So, but think about it. That's cool, because you're looking around and your room suddenly looks like a dungeon or something. It's right now, it's still kind of early days, but like they showed like the person holding like a whiteboard, and like these the whiteboard becomes the video that you're watching, like and you can move it around in his hand and it changes angles and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's actually going to be a commercial product. Like, it's too bulky right now, but it's fairly close. And I don't know. I think that kind of technology is going to lead us down some good roads. I still think, though, we got to do something better with controls. I'm not convinced with the whole. And we've talked about this too, but I'm not convinced
Steam,
that the Steam
controller.
Yeah. There has to be something else that provides a little bit of a different, connectivity to these 3D worlds that they're trying to create, because it's not working right now. Between the waving my hands around like an idiot, Kinect is too far away. But then holding a controller in my hand to do everything is probably just too fanciful. So I don't know.
I've been thinking about the whole control schema thing, and I think that the more I think about it, the more I'm like, whatever it is, it's going to be painful. Nothing is going to feel natural when we first start using it. So it's going to have to be, somebody's going to have to take the leap, and then we're all going to have to kind of agree that we're going to bang our heads up against this thing until it makes sense, because it's the way to go. Well, speaking of Valve, there was a story last week saying that they will not be developing any kind of exclusive games for SteamOS or the Steam machines, because they, well,
Of course.
Well, there was an idea, there was a rumor out there that like Half-Life 3 will come out and it will be exclusive to the Steam box as a way to try to push that product for people to sell, which, I don't know, I guess when you say it out loud or when you say it, it might sound kind of dirty, but I mean, that's what every other game platform has been doing for years, Halo
Sure.
on the Xbox and Mario on the Nintendo and stuff like that. I honestly think...
Do they actually get any money for people building a Steam box? I mean, I suppose if they use the name Steam, but, is it just license free? Is it open? Because if it is, then I could totally understand that. What do they care? They're like, we're not going to get any money if you sell a bunch of Steam boxes, so why would we want to make $1 million game for you?
Well, so. I don't know. I mean, I know that there have been some pictures out there on the internet of some people who got one of the prototypes and then opened it up and took a look at it. It looks like it has a commercial graphics card in it. It looks like it's got a laptop hard drive. I mean, it looks like just kind of a slightly custom designed motherboard, kind of like a shuttle or the inside of a normal thing.
Right.
Easily modular, not a big old thing. But this is nice. I mean, the fact that that Valve has enough IPs between, say Left 4 Dead, Portal, Team Fortress, Half-Life, all those things together, that if they were to make sequels for all of those games and then say that they were only going to come out on this new console thing that they were doing, they could definitely move units. I don't know. They might end up garnering enough bad press and bad feelings from doing that there might be a little bit of a blowback, but yeah,
it just seems disingenuous too, though. I mean, I think what they're doing is smart because, that's just trickery. That's just a trick to get you to buy something that you didn't really want because you want to play the game.
Sure.
They basically are saying, if you're in the market for something like this, it's going to be available. And if you're not, the game, you can play the game already. And kudos to them for doing that, not, trying to sell me a cheap razor and overpriced razor blades.
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right. Well, that's just a quick aside for me to lick on Valve's butt for this week. Next up, the war of the financials is heating up because Call of Duty Ghosts came out and apparently shipped $1 billion in the first day. I think it's a new thing that everybody has to go out and scream about. We shipped $1 billion worth of games in the first day.
I heard that was also kind of ho-hum. Did you play it?
We recorded some video for it, but I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and actually chuck through the storyline yet.
Sure.
But you know what? I find it interesting that they said that they have shipped $1 billion worth of the game into the retail space. It's like, well, okay, but does that just mean that Best Buy has 2 stories worth of Call of Duty copies in the back of every one of them just waiting to put out on the shelves? Or I don't know. I can't imagine. I mean, this is maybe another good question just to go off on a tangent with real fast. But Kevin, do you think that how much longer do you think it's going to be until we start to see the Call of Duty sales take a
Wayne?
Yeah,
I think it's as soon as something else comes along that captures that same mass of people.
You think,
there's that group that follows these sorts of games, and it's just gonna be a natural evolution onto something else.
You think Titanfall and Destiny might be able to take a bite out of it? You got a new Bungie title that's multi-platform, and the Respawn guys making their next title. I mean, one could make the argument that back when those Respawn guys were at Infinity Ward, they were the ones that made Call of Duty as popular as it is now. And it's possible that, I guess, if Titanfall really is good, that it might be able to pull enough people away. I just wonder, both of those games are set, very much science fiction universes. If there's still people out there who just want to keep playing modern military shooters, they want it to be a military shooter.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that. I think that a new console, like an exclusive on a new console, tends to drive people to whatever that game is that's sort of exclusive to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way Halo 2 sort of drove everybody to the original Xbox, and these Call of Duty games kind of came out on the next generation or whatever that we have now. And I think that just tends to be the flow of it, because you remember when you were a kid and you wanted, you didn't really care about that machine, but then your friends start talking like, you got the new Call of Duty? Yeah, I got it. You're thinking, well, I don't have anything that can play Call of Duty,
mm-hmm.
So I'm still playing Halo or something. And then people are like, that game's old. You got to play the new game. and then you get all jealous. So then you got to get one of those so you can get the game. And I think that has sort of a viral thing that causes that game to explode in popularity for that particular platform. But I don't know if it really carries from platform to platform very easily. And so I think maybe what we'll see is something new that just comes out. And it has to be the new good, it's got to be good. It could be Titanfall, it could be something, but it's got to be something that, all of these games start out being great. And so if it doesn't start out being great, then yeah, it won't pick up anything.
You know what? I think that one of the most you talk about looking forward to the indies in the next generation of consoles, and I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to a lot in the next consoles is things like Titanfall and Destiny. I have reached a point with this current generation of consoles where I have got some real bad sequelitis.
Yeah,
I mean, great that even Halo 4. I thought Halo 4 was really, really fun, but it's still another Halo game, And I know that some people just want to play. They don't want the game to change a lot, and they want to kind of play the same game over and over again. And I'm not trying to say it like it's a bad thing. I mean, dude, I don't like it when they change certain franchises that I love up too much, when they take stuff out of it and change it too much. But I really like new IP because.
Yeah,
one of my most cherished thing in all of video games is being surprised and just going, "What? I've never seen that before." And you're probably not going to go, "What? I've never seen that before" with the 5th iteration of Gears of War,
right?
Or
but I also want new gameplay experiences too. Because we're getting a lot. I mean, I've been playing a lot of recent games, and there's just a lot of this 20 or 30 minutes of introduction to a game that's been going on before I ever do anything, serious. I'll walk down a hallway and then some more video will start. And it used to just be a Metal Gear Solid problem.
Yeah, take that
but now
Metal Gear.
but it's spreading, and I'm finding it to be rather frustrating, to be honest with you. Because when I pick a game up, I really just want to play the game. I don't mind a little bit of story. Give me that 5 minutes or whatever in the beginning or whatever you want to do. But I mean, I've timed these things, and I could be 20 or 25 minutes in, and the only thing I've done is opened a door and looked at a vending machine or something. And I'm just thinking, this is, I don't know what they're trying to do, but there's no game in my game, and it's getting on my nerves.
I honestly think that the games that probably do the best at that whole intro thing as far as pacing goes are the ones that start you in the middle of the action. The ones where you kind of fade up from black and everything is just exploding, and they're just like, "Here's a gun, shoot some guys." You're like, "Ah!" Right. And then you do that for 5 minutes, and then they cut back and do the walking and talking intro, setting up yada yada yada. So you get that hook at the very beginning, where the first thing that you see is just yeah, they're blowing stuff up, get in the tank, and this is the laser, and oh my god, that's a great way to start something.
If the story was going to actually be good, then I might be more forgiving. But a lot of times it's just real rehash garbage that you've just seen a million times, and it's I don't know, man. I don't need to be that involved with what you're trying to sell me when it's just there's a mutant or something I got to go fight or something. The enemy commander has injected himself with the serum and is gonna
Hulk
battle
out.
Me with a
right. Yeah.
I just don't want to. I don't need all that backstory. I just want to play the game.
Yeah. Well, next up we have something that I think should have happened a long fucking time ago, but might actually be a reason to plug in your Kinect when you get the new Xbox One and leave it plugged in.
Oh boy!
There's a video online of it's Major Nelson demonstrating, instead of getting an Xbox, instead of entering a code, just getting a sheet with a game that has a QR code on it, holding up to the Xbox camera and going Xbox code, and then it just recognizes the QR code, decodes it, automatically dumps all that stuff in there and unlocks whatever you got, instead of having to sit there and type in 12 or 15 digits or whatever it is, which is not.
Yeah, I don't. Let me ask you this, because this goes right along with that, Jeff.
Okay.
I got Battlefield coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they sent me this code that said, well, log into Origins with your Origins ID and input this code, and then your battle pack will be ready for you when you start the game.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we all have this sort of discussion with ourselves a long time ago about the DLC, that if it's already on the disc, that we're just getting ripped off?
You know what? Yes, everybody had that conversation, and we all came to the same conclusion that if it's on the disc, you're getting ripped off, and then everybody continued to buy the games that did that. So I said it back in the old days, whenever we had this question on the podcast, I would say the exact same thing every time, and that is that if that is a thing that bothers you, the only thing that you could do to stop it is not buy that video game, and sometimes it's even more difficult because you have to not pre-order it, not buy it at day one, read reviews to see if it's in there, and then if it is, not purchase it and don't play the game. And the problem that you have is that people's objection to this on-disc DLC is less passionate than their desire to play that video game. So, I
mean, I didn't pay anything extra for it, but I did have to pre-order to get it. I mean, what happens then? Like, so if you go and buy it after the fact, do you just never get that pre-order stuff? There's never going to be a way for you to unlock that? That's just like on your game disc, but it's forever. You have a barrier now. You can never have those pre-order things in the game.
I think that it was a battle pack. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that, right?
I'm pretty sure that the battle packs. I've played some Battlefield 4 online, but I'm pretty sure that the battle packs are like those the chests from Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, where you get them and then you open them up and they have like, here's an attachment and here's a camo skin and here's a decal for your thing, and they're randomly generated, and I'm pretty sure that you can earn them in the game or you can buy them with real money. So it looks like they're just flipping a few at you as a, hey, thanks for buying this, etc., etc. But I don't know. I mean, I
guess that isn't too bad if that's the case. I just, I don't like the idea that they're maps or something, and that I had to pre-order in order to get the maps, and then if I buy it after day one, then I can't play with the people that are in those maps because they're special or something.
Yeah,
that just irritates me.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're starting to see maybe the beginning of the end of that, and I think that might have been signaled by the removal of online passes from stuff. They're finally starting to
Uplay.
Yeah, they're finally starting to see that, like, the amount of people who are just like, go fuck yourself, as opposed to don't care, is getting higher to the point where they're just like, well, right. I think that the Xbox One PS4 debate at E3 this year really polarized the industry's opinion about that. If you get in the way of people, if you try to get in the way of people buying your games used, and another company will come along and say, well, we're not going to do that. Like, imagine what would happen if Battlefield 4 launched with an online pass. And, well, this has actually happened. Battlefield 3, I think, had an online... No, it didn't. But imagine if Battlefield 4 had an online pass, and I can't tell whether it did or not. I just bought it, so I don't know. But Call of Duty didn't. And the Battlefield 4 is setting themselves up as like, well, we want to get all the people who play Call of Duty to play Battlefield 4 instead, because we want their sales figures. But Call of Duty was like, well, that's fine and good for you, but fuck you. They could buy a used copy of our game, and we don't give a shit. That it starts to become, the trade-off maybe starts to become less profitable for the companies. Plus, they've got to administer all those passes. They're going to make sure people aren't hacking them. If there's a hack around it on the PC, they've got to patch it to remove that or update their servers and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, I think that there's enough bullshit with these games already that it's probably just becoming more of a hassle than it's worth, as far as keeping people out. Plus, the whole idea of setting up systems to keep people from seeing the content that your game has seems weirdly counterintuitive to me anyway. But all right, well, you know what? I got a quick retraction and then one more story, and then we're going to go over to the emails. So last week we did a story where we talked about the PlayStation was removing the analog from the buttons on the DualShock 4 controller. And I misread the article, and I thought they were talking about the left and right triggers, like the L2 and R2 buttons. Turns out what they're talking about is the actual face buttons. That the PlayStation controller, has those analog sensitive face buttons.
Sure. Right.
And that they did a study and realized nobody's fucking using these. Just nobody is using them at all. So we're taking them out. So yeah, that was my bad. And I made it sound like they were taking it out of the triggers, which seemed weird to me. Like, why would you put all that give in a trigger if it just had the on and off state? So yeah, that was me. Somebody else wrote in and was just like,
yeah, I never understood the analog buttons anyway. I mean, even if people use them, for what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it would ever be very accurate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, plus, lightly pressing the face button versus really jamming down on the face button is not something that it's harder to do even.
Right.
It's not very intuitive. Where you get the big triggers that have a lot of give in them, that's fine. But those buttons,
Yeah.
Exactly. And then finally, our last story, which is kind of a retraction for me because this has been people kept writing us, Kevin. They kept asking this question, and I kept answering it to the best of the knowledge that I had that was out there. And sometimes people would come up and they'd be like, "Dude, you're wrong. You're totally fucking wrong." And I'd be like, "Well, what about this article? Totally says I'm not." So, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes is a separate property from Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. They're two different games, and one is going to be released for current gen systems. Ground Zero is going to be $20 downloadable, $30 if you get it on the disc, and then $30 on the PS4 and the Xbox One. I haven't seen anything yet talking about how long this is going to be, but it's going to be essentially a prequel to The Phantom Pain, and it's going to come out before then, as I guess kind of a teaser, like I don't know, maybe like just a mid-sized game. I'm really curious to know how long this thing is going to be, because if it's 2 hours worth, that's not worth $20 or $30. But if it's 6 hours and the main game is 12 hours and there's some save stuff that transfers over, who knows? It could be totally worth it. But yeah, people asked, and there was just a story last week where they came out and specifically talked about pricing and release dates and stuff like that. So the good news is that I get to play Metal Gear like before the Phantom Pain comes out, which I'm excited about. So
yeah.
And that's all the news. Kevin, I think I'm going to take a quick break here.
Sure.
Before we get into the email, I've been up so late. I need to hit the bathroom real fast. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got some questions from you guys that we are going to read. So see you in a few. Kevin, that break didn't really do a whole lot for me.
Slows you down.
I always say I'm going to go to bed early tonight. And then I always end up staying up until like 4 o'clock, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, playing games and stuff. But I really think I'm going to bed early tonight. Like I had a giant coffee because Jason and I recorded some stuff today, and then before we started, while we were doing the first part, I was quaffing a Red Bull, and I still just feel like I could just like. At any point in time here. I think the only thing the Red Bull actually did was give me the beginnings of what's probably going to turn out to be a really nice headache later on tonight. So, but you know what? I will not let my infirmity. I will not let my body will not stop me from finishing this podcast. God damn it! So you got some questions here, and just, for you guys, mail@rageselect.com is the email address if you want to send us some questions. Ever since I started putting an email link in the description, we'll be getting more questions, Kevin. So,
great.
There you go. This first one is from Ricardo. And Ricardo says, this is very short. My friend, who is a diehard Nintendo fanboy, is intent on getting a Wii U, and I am trying to talk him out of it, but he won't listen to me. Do you guys have any advice? Also, he only has a Wii and has never had a current console. I don't know, Kevin. What's your do you mess with your Wii at all?
Hey, now, watch what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot. It's been, 8 years? We've all forgot. Wii is no longer a euphemism for urine like it used to be. Thanks, Nintendo. Jesus.
I use it occasionally. I do rent games, and they come in on it, but I haven't found anything that I would want to stick to playing on it, so mostly no. But it's one of those things. If you like those, first-party Nintendo games, the Marios and stuff, they're obviously coming, and there's some already here, and that there is that audience, and they're, if that's what they want to play, I don't see why not. Not everybody wants to play Call of Duty, so
yeah,
I don't see a real problem with it. It's just whatever floats your boat.
I mean, I guess I would say to Ricardo here that if his friend seems like the sort of person who would be swayed if you showed them like a video of, I don't know, Uncharted, or I don't know, something that they would maybe be interested in getting on when it's called BioShock or something. If they're just simply unaware of those titles on other consoles, maybe just making them aware of it. But if they are aware of those titles, but they're just not interested in them, well then, to each his own. I don't think that, Jason and I aren't huge fans of the Wii U. We only tend to pull it out when a Mario game comes out and Brian Brushwood comes over and, we all get drunk and scream about dicks. But
now, I don't think it's going to do very well ultimately. I think the Wii U is going to be replaced before too long. I don't think Nintendo is going to... because the third-party developers are already saying that they're not going to develop for it at this point. And so I don't think Nintendo's going to be able to generate enough interest now. I think they were trying to jump the gun and get ahead of the new consoles, and they're obviously going to get smoked really soon by them, and they're never going to catch back up. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's going to be like a 3-year console deal, and I personally think it's going to be dropped. They're going to come out with something new.
So by what do you think announcement? Next year E3, or do you think they'll spend one more year putting out stuff for the Wii U, and then like 2015 E3 have coming this Christmas, the Wii 2 or something like that?
I mean, maybe they'll make something that's like sort of backwards compatible to it or whatever. Maybe they're going to have to come up with another idea, but it doesn't have the horsepower, so it's not going to be able to play all the stuff that's going to be, currently in development for the new systems. And developers just don't want to develop for it. So Nintendo, they've had these problems before, but this one's different for them because they've developed something that's actually more expensive to develop for, because you got to have something on that screen and then the main screen,
right?
And so even their bigger fans in Japan that tend to be the smaller companies are probably not really too interested in developing for this. So they're stuck, man. I think they're. I don't know, but I just don't. They can something. It's Nintendo. They pull rabbits out of their hats sometimes. We might be surprised, but I got a feeling that it's not going to even make 5 years.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I can see. Do you think that? I mean, do you think that? It was just the guys. Wild speculation time. It's time for Flights of Fancy here on Rage Select. Do you think that the next time that they will continue to stick with the with their kind of what we've seen them do with the Wii and the Wii U of trying to make a console which is not that's not banking on like super high hardware and is more trying to bank on just the fact that they've got the first party titles on it? Or do you think that they'll actually try, like whatever their next console is, do you think that they'll try to be on par hardware wise with the PS4 and the Xbox One to try to get those things released on whatever their next console is simultaneously with a completely parallel feature set as what's on the PS4 and the Xbox One?
I don't know. Nintendo's a weird bird, and I don't know if they necessarily want to even go into that space. I mean, I pretty much think they don't. They don't want to try and compete against Microsoft and Sony, because it's just, for them, it's who's going to get to the bottom the fastest. I got more of a feeling that, that it's going to be one of these weird things. Like, they're going to, announce some sort of partnership with Oculus Rift and come out with a system designed just for that, and, Nintendo-ize it or something, they'll have... they did Virtual Boy. You know what I mean? They're a company, they're just, you don't know what they're going to do. They come out of left field with stuff. But this was a mistake.
Yeah.
This was a mistake. It didn't follow the same mindset of the Wii, and yet they called it the Wii. Because the Wii was like your grandma can play it. It's one button on the controller. She waves it around the room.
Yeah. And
they're like, now we have this thing that's retardedly complex and huge, and grandma never wants to pick it up and use it. So, they made a mistake. I just think that they're making tons of bank still. They're not in any jeopardy because they basically own that mobile space.
Yeah.
That
the 3DS.
Yeah, 3DS, DS money is still, they're just shoveling it in the door. But this thing, I look, if your third party developers aren't developing for it, you're back to GameCube, and
Yeah.
they knew
Yeah.
that was a disaster, and they see it happening right now, and I don't think they're going to like just shrug it off and say, hey, we got to release like some more Mario games. I think they've learned that lesson in the past, and I think I just think they're going to cut it off at some point and move on.
See, now all I've got is a mental image of the Nintendo testing facility that's just like a room full of grandmas all hunched over Wii's doing QA testing for it. Just like they're all in rocking chairs in my mind for some reason, Kevin. They're all sitting there in rocking chairs with their Wii remotes just playing, and there's like, this Shigeru Miyamoto up there like looking down on them from like the other side of a one-way glass or whatever, like just nodding his head like, yes, more grandmothers, bring me more grandmothers.
I think that what happened, personally, I think what happened is in Japan, like if you look at the sales, mobile is huge.
Yeah.
And consoles are dying over there. And they basically said, boy, if we could just get the same sales that we get from the handheld onto the main console, how can we do that? And somebody said, well, let's merge the handheld screen with the console, and we'll get the best of both worlds. And that's the kind of boardroom meeting that really should involve people from Rage Select to be there, so we can kind of participate and say that is a horrible idea. Because you guys do not know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't even think that, like, they probably do have some really cool stuff in their R&D labs, you know what I mean? There's probably some guys in there that are like, this thing's amazing, I can't wait to show it, and the suits are like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, kid. That's not going to sell.
I want to set up now. I just want to set up some kind of external, like independent QA firm where it's just Jason and I sitting in chairs, and they just bring stuff into us, and they're like, would you buy this? And we're like, no. No, I would buy that. What about this? Yeah, I would buy that one. I wouldn't buy that one, but I would totally buy that one. Yep.
Yeah, it's just really it seriously needed more peer review.
Yeah,
I think if they would have had some peer review, people would have told them that it was awful.
Well,
but then I thought the Wii was going to be awful, but it captured children and grandmothers in a way that I had never seen before. So that was a surprise. But this one didn't. This was a failure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the Wii and Nintendo. I had somebody who I think commented on one of the podcasts where we were kind of banging on Nintendo, saying like, you guys always bashing on Nintendo, and I generally just tried to get away from, honestly, tried to kind of get away from stories about them, just because people, the people who like Nintendo really like Nintendo, and I don't want it to seem like I never want it to seem like I'm trying to get people not to like I don't have an agenda. I don't want to try to make people who like something stop liking it. Like, for all I care, like what you like. I don't give a fuck. It's just that I can't summon up that much excitement about the stuff that they're doing because it hasn't been focused on us for a while. Or people.
You know what it is they try to make stuff that is a good idea. Like, they try to make these new experiences with these things. But what they don't do is they allow people to also make bad experiences with those things. And that's what ruins it. Like, Zombie U.
Yeah.
Great use of the touch screen on the controller. Perfect as far as I'm concerned. With the radar and choosing, your items and everything. I thought that was great. But then I played Rayman Legends.
Yeah.
Where basically I had to constantly look at the screen in my hand as well as the screen on the TV, and it was horrible. I mean, and people even said, well, if you play it on the Vita, it's much better because it's all on one screen.
Right.
And it's like, then why the hell did they even make it like this? Because it's horrible, and Nintendo just allows that to take place, and that just makes you just have a bad taste in your mouth for the thing. It's like it suddenly becomes unfun. You don't want to even pick it up.
Yeah. All right, well, our next question comes in from Incorrect Reference on the website, and Incorrect Reference has two questions, but they're all kind of the same question. So I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we can go back to it. Number one, how important is it to the Rage crew what a company labels their microtransactions as? Hey, this goes back to what we were just talking about. Example, when I first saw Battlefield 4's premium package, I wanted to burn it with fire. Here was a pay-for-win element in a game that already cost $60. However, after putting down the torch, I realized it was just a season pass for expansion content with a few extras thrown in, which I am fine with. Two, should there be a second price range for video games at, say, $100, where all possible download content is given to the player automatically for a set period of time. I hate being nickeled and dimed in my video games. Stay classy. Actually, you know what? I think we kind of already kind of answered this to a certain extent. I mean, I think that that from his, I don't know, Kevin. What do you think about the whole season pass? Do you have any
Aliens, Colonial Marines?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a perfect. Yeah, there you go. That's a great response. I mean, I would say that there's certain things, or take Saints Row the Third, right? Like from a lot of what I've heard, the DLC for Saints Row the Third was not really all that great. So the people who pre-bought that ahead of time ended up with content that they'd already paid for, sight unseen, that wasn't good. And all this, I guess, just loops back around to what we always say about pre-ordering anything, is a season pass essentially pre-ordering DLC. I never get behind pre-order as a thing. Just don't do it. To wait,
right.
You may be saving $20, but every so often you're going to lose $20 for buying a season pass pack that just doesn't do anything. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. It may be just because I got a headache and I'm kind of tired, but I'm going to go out on a limb here, Kevin. I'm going to say I don't like, and I never have, and it's becoming more and more prevalent now, and you're seeing it more also in a way with Kickstarters and season passes and stuff like that that's coming up. I don't want to pay for a thing without getting that thing. Like, call me old-fashioned, but I don't believe in buying something before. When I give you the money, I want the thing that I bought right now. I don't want it later. I don't want it 2 months when it's done. I don't want it blah, blah, blah. I want it right the fuck now. So if I give you $40, I want everything that $40 buys right now. I don't want to give you money ahead of time because, to be quite frank, my dad used to say this. It was a thing he used to say. It's like, my dad is not really a huge gamer, so it's not like he talks to me all the time about, he's like, son, don't ever get us pre-order pass. They don't exist yet, but when they do, don't ever buy them. But the way that he would phrase this, and it's kind of the sort of thing that was instilled within me, is there is no reason for them to have your money. There's no reason for this company to be able to ask you for your money and for them to be able to do what they want with your money without giving you something in return. Keep your money and then use the money to buy the stuff as it comes out, and it will be more expensive, but you will probably get less burned over time.
Especially because it's very rare today for games to be sold out.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost never. I don't know any game. Did Grand Theft Auto sell out? Could you not buy it at the store when it was released?
I hadn't heard anything like that. I had not heard any story that ever said that it was sold out. But, it's because if it is sold out, I mean, like if you've got a PlayStation, they're pretty much putting everything on the digital store. If you Steam, right. You can buy it off Steam, you can buy it off Origin, you can buy it off, Xbox Live.
There's almost no reason to pre-order anymore because the days of running out now can't even exist because you can download it digitally.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think pre-order should just die. It's stupid, especially since you can buy it immediately now.
Yeah.
There's almost no good reason. They're going to get you with these perks. Hey, you can get your battle chest or whatever, but battle chest. It just reminds me of a woman with like big bazoombas, whatever you want to call
spiky bikini with the big points coming out of the nipples.
Yeah,
battle chest.
Just guns are strapped across her chest or something. I don't know.
It's interesting because I actually looked at this premium membership and it's $50 on top of Battlefield 4. So it's $50 on top of the initial $60 price for Battlefield 4, and it gets you. There's going to be 5 expansion packs for Battlefield 4, and it gets you all 5 expansion packs, and you get to play them 2 weeks before they are released if you buy this thing all at once. So they're up in the ante with this one to, in addition to just buying them all for what's going to be a discount, but you actually get to play them before they come out. They are also giving you 12 battle packs. I think that's what they're called. Battle packs, the thing.
Oh, 12 battle. I mean, all right, I'm going to go order it right now.
You going to order right now?
I mean, yeah, no, I'm kidding. I think you got to really sit down and play the game first and then think about stuff like that. It's just like you said. It's certainly possible the game could be a buggy, crappy mess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Plus, I mean, the other thing that I've come to a few times has been that a lot of times DLC for developers is probably a nightmare as well, because if you develop the season pass DLC in conjunction with the main game, then gamers hate you because you're diverting resources into DLC that should be in the main game. But if they buy a season pack and those DLCs don't start showing up until way later, like BioShock Infinite, then people get all pissy because they're like, well, I bought a season pass. Where's my DLC? So I just, whenever we do a thing, I generally try to just buy the main game, whatever it is, and that's what I'm focused on.
I don't know why they just can't go back to just selling expansions like expansions. You know what I mean? This is these mini episodic, like, little mission things that they sell. Just sell me one big expansion pack at a later time. Maybe I'll go back to playing the game. I don't want all this. I don't know. Like, a lot of these things, like, at one point, like in Mass Effect, I don't know. I got, like, I think it was Mass Effect 2, maybe. I got something, an expansion that I hadn't played the game yet. So I put in the code, and I don't know. I don't know if I ever played that part of the game or not.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know if it was even there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There was no recognition. It didn't appear anywhere. I didn't even know what it was. I just like, okay, I guess I got something that's in the game that maybe I'll find or something. But I don't know. I needed something to just tell me, like, this is the extra thing that you have, Or, you know what it was? It was like that assassin girl or something that you meet in the city or something like that. Like she was an unlock or something, but I had no idea. Like, I was just playing the game. It felt like it was part of the game the whole time, and I was just like, I don't know. I mean, that's not exciting to me. I'd rather just give me a whole expansion.
You know what for a lot of people who are modern gamers, I'll tell you what I would suggest. And this was before we started having to get all this stuff, and before we started, having to try to run this stuff down as soon as it came out. This is what I would suggest to you. If it's a really good game, and this is different for everybody, but this is my own personal philosophy. Buy it or rent it once when it first comes out, right? Get the game, play the game, be done with the game, skip all the DLC. And then later, like a year, 8 months to a year later, you'll either have like a Game of the Year edition that is cheap, that has all of that. So a lot of times the Game of the Year edition stuff will go on sale, and you'll have the same game that was $60 with like $60 worth of DLC all bundled together for like $30 or $40, something like that. If you really want to play the DLC, I say play it once and then maybe go back and replay the game all over again with all that added DLC later, when you can get the whole thing for $20. Instead of because the problem with that I've seen with a lot of story DLC for single player games like what you're talking about is that it comes out so infrequently, and the DLCs are short enough that it's not satisfying. Like, you buy another 2-hour chunk of Mass Effect content, so you reload Mass Effect, you find your save game, you load it up, you go in, you play the Kasumi mission, and it's about 2 hours long, and it's really good, and then you're done. And then you got to wait for 3 more months for the next thing for the
right. Yeah.
So it's better just to wait for the entire thing to get done,
exactly.
be out. So, okay. Next question up comes from Chris. Chris says, "Hey guys, big fan of the show. Keep up the great work." Thanks, Chris. This is more of a me question, I think, Kevin, but you could weigh in on it. I've never really been interested in the Metal Gear series, but the trailer for Phantom Pain looked really cool. So I was wondering, will I be able to go into the game without knowing any background, or do I need to play like all the Metal Gear games to make sense of it? Or are some games more important than others? Like, what would be essential games to play? I don't have much time and would like to avoid playing like all 10 games, Chris. Chris, I can tell you right now that from what I've seen in the trailer for the Phantom Pain, it appears that this is the Phantom Pain / Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be Ground Zeroes is going to be an interquel between Metal Gear Solid my brain is so fried today, the PSP game, I'm going to look it up, and Metal Gear Solid 3, and then the Metal Gear Solid PSP game, Peace Walker. So technically, just for those who haven't already, who aren't already familiar with this, this is how the timeline for Metal Gear Solid goes if you start at the very beginning. It goes Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 5, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Metal Gear Solid 4. So if you want to skip the stuff that comes after that point in the timeline, you should be able to just get away with playing Metal Gear Solid 3 and maybe Peace Walker if you want to get real into it. But you could probably just get Metal Gear Solid 3 and it would probably give you enough information. I mean, I guess there's portable ops in there as well. The other thing you could do is, I know that when Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, if you have a PlayStation 3, they had like this wiki that you could download that gave you a full timeline of the entire game with synopsis of different events that happened. You could probably fill that stuff in as well. But I know that they actually released for the PlayStation.
Isn't there like a film or something that you can watch?
No.
Did that come with like the one where he eats the animals in the woods or whatever?
That was
Metal Gear
3. Oh, yeah.
Didn't that come with a video or some sort?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they... Okay, let's see. That was in the collector's edition of Subsistence.
Yeah, Subsistence. That's what it was.
But it was only in the collector's edition. In Metal Gear Solid... Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can look it up here. Metal Gear Solid 3 movie or film...
Not that you'll want to watch a movie, but
actually,
you wanted to get caught up.
That would not be the worst thing in the world to do if you could find that. Yeah. So what he's talking about is when they released Metal Gear Solid 3, the collector's edition of the second release of it had a second disc that was basically the entire game cut together into a movie that you could watch. I can't remember whether that's part of the HD collection they put out that had 3. I don't know what version of 3. I know that 3. The version of 3 they put out was the Subsistence version, but I don't know if they added all that collector stuff in there as well. The other thing that you could do if you wanted to is, I know that a few months ago they put out the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection I'm looking at it on Amazon right now for $45, and that is everything that you would ever need to play in one box. It's actually one of the... I mean, if you're interested in Metal Gear, like, this is the primo collection, because it's got Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 2 HD, Metal Gear 3 HD, Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4, Peace Walker, and then a download code for Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PSN. So it's got everything that you could want out of it. But to be honest, I mean, you're probably going to be losing some stuff if you haven't played those games. But actually, now that I think about what some of the theories about what that game is going to be, you might need to know something before you go into it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know how much is going to be in it, so I can't really tell you whether you need to play it or not. But I can tell you that Metal Gear Solid 3 is a damn fine game, and you should probably go play it. Did you ever play that one, Kevin?
No. 3? Sons of... Well,
no. It's a Snake Eater, the one where you're in the jungle.
You know what? I own it, and I'm looking for it right now because it has the video, and I was going to give it to that kid, but I can't find it.
Don't give it to him. I want the video, Kevin. I don't have the video.
Yeah, I have no. Maybe I gave it away a long time ago. I'm looking for it right here, which I shouldn't be doing, but I am. Sorry. Okay.
All right. Let's move on. Next up is Chris from Albuquerque, and he says, "Greetings, Jeff and Kevin. Longtime listener, first time writer here. So I will cut to the chase. What RPG battle system do you enjoy the most? I myself find that no other RPG holds a candle to the system in Grandia 2. There's always something to do, someone to interrupt, and the tension in hoping that your meter fills before your opponent is agonizing at times. Stay classic, keep up the hard work." From Chris. What do you think, Kevin? I don't even really know. We talk about it from time to time, but you and I we reviewed some RPGs from time to time. Any of those that have ever really just kind of caught your attention?
No, I mean, I hated random monster battles, and I still do, but I did appreciate your perspective on it. It made me think about it in a different way, in that you never know what you're going to be fighting with a random monster battle, and I always thought that was a really interesting way of looking at it. So I thought that was really cool. But in terms of, like, I like Grandia too. I thought that was a great combat system, but sometimes these combat systems get too involved. Like these merging characters together in order to fight together. That's been a lot. The Japanese really get into that. I'm not sure how popular it is over there, but they seem to keep trying it. And I don't have the time to research all of the potential possibilities of those combinations to find what's going to work best. I really kind of like to go back and just know that my warrior is going to be the guy that hits guys with a sword, and my magic user is going to fire fireballs or whatever. And I don't know. I guess I kind of like it pretty basic.
I too. I think that the one that always stands out to me when I think about a question like this is probably Final Fantasy X. And it's mostly because Square got into this habit, especially with Final Fantasy after a while, of basically they got really, really focused on the whole idea of the job system. And I'm not a I'm not a real big fan of the job system because it always makes me feel like I need to level up everybody so they can do everything, and then it makes everybody seem a little generic, right? Because in the previous Final Fantasy, or in the say Final Fantasy 4 and 6, stuff like that, you had these characters where their abilities were very much tied to their personality as characters. So guy was a ninja, he could do this ninja shit, but then his story was that he was a ninja. Final Fantasy X I liked a lot because they had that whole sphere grid thing where it's like all of the characters started in different areas, and you would use the level ups to move this little marker across the upgrade tree. And if you had enough points, you could get all the way to the other side. You could have everybody have every power, but it was a very slow process to do all of that. I also like the ability in the whole you hit, I hit thing where you could switch out your guys at any particular point in time. I also really like tactical RPGs. Like Disgaea or Final Fantasy Tactics or things like that, where you get to move your guys around and you have to take advantage of the whole battlefield, like Fire Emblem, like that is quite a bit as well. I think a lot of that comes from Shining Force back in the old days, being a game that I was really into. But yeah,
name dropping Shining Force.
Yeah, dude, I love Shining Force. Shining Force 2, where at the time they had that little fake cinematic combat thing that was just like, I've never seen anything that looks like this before. What? I mean, you think about that on the Genesis when the Super Nintendo was still doing Final Fantasy III, which is a great game, one of my favorite RPGs of all time, but they still had the little, super deformed looking guys walk up with the big sword and go, what, and then the attacks would go over on the other guy, whereas here you had this fully animated kind of anime manga looking dude doing a really impressive attack. I miss that stuff. I really wish there was I miss having the time to play RPGs, and I kind of miss Japan's RPGs. I used to really get into those, and there just haven't been a whole lot recently that I've had an interest in getting into. I don't know. The new Final Fantasy Part 3, Final Fantasy 13 Part 3 comes out at the end of the year, Kevin. You want to review it with me? Review one RPG a year. Last year it was Persona 4. I took that to my parents' house and I played it for 60 hours and beat it and was like, oh God, I don't ever want to play a game ever again. All right, our next question comes from Drew. And Drew says, Dear Jeff and Kevin, long-time lurker, first-time questioner, really loving the site so far and can't wait to see how deep the rage hole goes. Eesh. Anyway, I've noticed that Rockstar selects a genre and builds a world using the best themes and tropes of that genre. For example, Red Dead Western, bully adolescent comedy, LA Noir. My question is, what genre would you like to see Rockstar delve into next or develop further? I personally would love to see them tackle the survival horror genre set in an open world with small towns around a lake in the middle of a deep dark forest from which the freakiest Lovecraftian bug shit insano creatures descend from, but with Rockstar sensibilities. Thanks for your thoughts. Keep it classy. Drew from Scotland. What do you think?
I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure what he was asking.
Okay, no. So he's saying Rockstar tends to select a common fiction genre, right, and then build their game based on that, on the best themes and tropes ripped off from that genre. So you get westerns. You got Red Dead that incorporates kind of the best western sensibilities of films and a lot of different stuff. You got Bully for your kind of coming of age adolescent comedy type of thing. L.A. Noire, relying on Raymond Chandler kind of noir stuff. Like what genre would you like to see them take and just totally fall in love with and make into a game franchise or a single game? I guess would be the question.
I mean, I think we've talked about something like this before, but I still think like Cold War or like Soviet Union times type stuff would be really interesting.
Well,
there's not enough of it.
They've got that game, They've got the Agent. Where is the Agent, Kevin?
You're right. Yeah. That's still missing. Exactly.
I personally think I'd like to see Dan Houser write a science fiction game. I want to see what happens when Grand Theft Auto crime meets Mass Effect. So kind of Mass Effect meets GTA in space. I want to hold up space stations and really elaborate heist missions. That's what I want to do, and have an open universe instead of open world where you go between different stuff. Like what if Rockstar decided to develop the next like Wing Commander Privateer game? I'd be totally into that.
There is a. Did you see that there's a Kickstarter for Wing Commander by the guy that did Wing Commander? They've managed to generate over $25 million in startup funds.
Are you talking about Star Citizen?
Might be Star Citizen
with Chris Roberts.
Yeah, I think that's it. I got to look it up.
Yeah, Roberts from Roberts Space Industries.
He's almost. Yeah, he's got. I think maybe even more than that now. Like he was trying to get 27 million or something ridiculous, but it's like a huge amount of money to make one game.
Yeah, but it's basically. He's making Wing Commander as if he made it today, and this game I am really, really excited about because it looks like it's going to be doing the thing that I've been waiting for games to do for a space game to do for a long time, and that is have a game where you can like walk from your quarters over to the bridge and then hang out and do there and then get in your ship and fly somewhere else and dock there and walk around, that kind of stuff. I guess kind of like because I love Freelancer so much, and this looks like a spiritual successor to Privateer, Freelancer, that sort of thing, which I am totally into. The only question I really have about it is whether they're going to make any kind of concession to playing the game with a mouse and a keyboard, because I don't think I have a joystick anymore. I think I threw away the last one that I had.
Oh yeah, right. Do I have one anymore? Oh, I still got one. It's on the floor.
How much dust is on it? When was the last time you used it?
It's pretty dusty. I don't even... What kind of adapter does it take? It's probably one of those old, like, ones that plugged into the back of your sound card.
Oh, game port? Game port joystick?
Yeah, game port. No, it's USB. It's one of those old SciTech ones.
Mm-hmm.
I got it for free at some point.
Yep.
I don't know. I miss the motion control ones. Those things were rad.
Motion control ones?
Yeah, what do they call it? The force feedback.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Those things were cool. I wore it and all that, but I'm showing my age. It's old.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that the coolest thing about Star Citizen is just that, I had lamented for years on various podcasts about I want more space combat sim games, and finally somebody's making one because nobody else is making them anymore. I mean...
Right.
I guess there's the X series, but those have always come off as very like buggy.
Online, they have them, but they don't do so well.
I guess Star Wars The Old Republic has one now, and then Galaxies used to have one, but EVE Online isn't really a Twitch space combat game. It's more of a spreadsheet with ships flying around in it, but I don't know. I'm really looking forward to that. Like that's one of those things where I might try to be irritating and use are like, hey, I run a website. Can you totally give me like the premium package of Star Citizens? We could do 27 parts of it, and I can give it 5 stars. I don't know. I'm not going to give it 5 stars right away. I'll play it first and then give it 5 stars. Just so that people know that I'm not totally biased. All right, next question comes in from Clayton, and Clayton says, Dear Jeff and Kevin, I am a longtime fan. This is my first time writing. I didn't realize that I pulled every one of these that I pulled, Kevin, was long-time listener, first-time caller. You guys are my go-to podcast and website for videos I watch about video games. Cool. Good job, sir. The question I have pertains to... Oh, you know what, Kevin? This is... I'm sorry, I keep interrupting this question, but this is one we've kind of had before, but we haven't had it in a while, so I was going to come back to it and we could talk about it. The question that I have pertains to movies that are based on video games. So far, there are no great ones out there, and most are shit that is made by Uwe Boll. I've never understood why this is, since all games have a storyline already. The games that get adapted are also ones that have voice acting, meaning someone had to write out a script for actors to read. My question for you guys, why do movie studios have such a hard time making movies off of video game licenses? Is there some reason that they can't take the already written script from the property, hand it to the director, and say, it's all here, just cast the characters and place it on the big screen? My wife, sisters, and I always seem to have this conversation after a crappy video game movie. We also have a similar conversation after bad movies based on comics. With both comics and video games, it always feels like the movie studios don't have enough faith in the source material to bring in audiences. Thank you guys for taking time to read my email. Keep it classy, and always watch the ceiling for Asshole Spider-Man. Ooh, that's an old reference. Clayton S. So, I don't know, Kevin, have your thoughts on this changed at all since we've talked about it back in the old days?
Why they don't make good video or movies on video game material? I don't know. I mean, they're totally different things. I think that has a lot to do with it. Somebody's got to sit down and write the script and make it into a movie.
Yeah,
they make it 90 minutes and not 40 hours or whatever, and try to make it exciting and give you characters that you can relate to and all that sort of stuff. And yes, most of them do a terrible job at it. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Jeff?
Well, I've always said that my the thing that we always used to get into arguments about was that I feel like video games are developed with a very different with a different intent in mind. So, like, this guy says, why don't you just take the video game and cast somebody as all the characters and then put that out as a movie? But the thing is that a lot of times games are written with lead characters that don't have as much personality because they're there to basically give you a cipher to put yourself into. Like, imagine trying to make a video game based off of Skyrim, right? So the story of Skyrim. Hey, spoilers for Skyrim, you guys. The story of Skyrim is that you have this undead dragon that has risen up and is bringing the dragons back to life in order to destroy everything, and you have to go into the afterlife and collect. He's unkillable. You have to go into the afterlife, collect these heroes, and you have to do all this stuff, and you have to go out there and you do all that stuff in Skyrim. So that's the main story throughput of Skyrim, is this giant dragon trying to beat the dragons. You go on some side quests, you pick up these artifacts, you get these people, you go kill the dragon. You go, I think at the end of Skyrim, right, you go into essentially Valhalla and fight him in Valhalla, right? And you kill him in the afterlife. You get the Elder Scroll, you learn how that stuff happened, all that stuff. Okay, there's totally a story there. But can you imagine how jarring it would be if somebody tried to film that movie and then, 2 minutes into, like, have a little voiceover at the front, like, in an age when dragons were still blah blah blah, and and a hero walks the earth, and then suddenly, like, the guy, so let's just say that you had the guy on the front of the Skyrim box with the main guy and all the stuff with the Viking helmet and everything, and then he stands up and he's like, I am Jeffonius from Skyrim, and my parents were killed at an early age by a dragon, and I hate dragons, and there's this girl, and she likes me, but I'm focused on revenge, but we're going to fall in love. Like, do you really want to see the main character of Skyrim be set in stone as this other character when you yourself, like, I played 90 hours of Skyrim with a lady character, and she was a thief and a magician, but now you've got this guy, and, like, once you cast this main character in stone, it's going to make it a wholly different thing than the game was. It's going to transform it into a different thing. Like, I think they're writing that World of Warcraft movie. I think they're insane to be picking World of Warcraft as a movie. I mean, I guess I could just run through some of the storylines from World of Warcraft, but even Uncharted. Uncharted's a globes. Uncharted would probably be should be one of the easiest games to make into a movie. But then we had that whole thing where the guy, whatever, the Three Kings guy or whatever, was like, oh, yeah, well, I want to cast Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and make this about, Goombas in fucking Goomba treasure hunters, and it's Mark Wahlberg, right? Wasn't that what he wanted to do? Mark Wahlberg and Bob De Niro as, treasure hunting guys, and you're just like, what fucking game did you play? I don't know. Some of it might also come into the fact that it's just, directors and screenwriters and movie people who make that sort of stuff are, the good ones who are going to do a really good job at it are creative types. So if you were a really creative person who was known, if you were, say, a Christopher Nolan or like a, who else is really good out there? Kevin, like a, who's the man of
Ridley Scott?
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Ridley Scott or somebody like that. And you went up to this guy and you said, Ridley Scott, you've made all of these original stories that were creative. Okay, we need somebody who's really good to do this video game movie. So here's this video game. Don't change anything. Don't change a single fucking thing. We don't want any of your vision in this. We want you to sit down and film Uncharted and cut it down to 2 hours and film it, because this isn't like Lord of the Rings where you're making something on a book where everybody's got a different picture in their head of what hobbits and shit look like. This is something where you already have an established like face of Nathan Drake and the way that he dresses and the way that he talks. It's almost like you've already seen a movie and they're rebooting it by making it into a movie. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like at the end of the day, though, it really comes down to the same thing that we've said before. Someday somebody's going to make one, and it's going to make a shit ton of money. And then they're going to go, oh, if we do this right, it will make a shit ton of money, as opposed to just cranking it out.
I think it's generational, too. I mean, if you look at comic book movies, when I was growing up, comic book anything was garbage. Yeah. I mean, it was just, the electric company had Spider-Man. He didn't talk. His word bubbles appeared next to him. Anytime they tried to make anything, it usually wasn't very good. It took a long time before. I mean, Superman was good, but any other attempt to do anything, like especially with Marvel Comics, was a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
So it took just ages for them, and I think that this current generation that's growing up with video games that has this sort of background, they'll eventually get old enough to be in the driver's seat. The people that'll bankroll it and the people that'll direct it and have the passion to make it the right way will eventually be in charge, and they'll do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm actually just trying to look down. I mean, I also think there have been, let's see, Pokemon movies. Wait, hold on. What am I looking at? Theatrical releases. Oh, why does it start with Japan? Okay. All right, Kevin. Are you ready to run down the shit parade? I got the I got the list here. Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, no.
Double Dragon. Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat.
No.
Wing Commander. Lara Croft Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I think that movie's better than it gets credit for personally, but whatever. Resident Evil, the second Lara Croft movie. Now we're getting into Uwe Boll. We've got House of the Dead, Resident Evil,
killing
Alone in the Dark, Doom.
Oh, God.
Remember Doom?
Yeah.
Blood Rain. Silent Hill wasn't super terrible.
Wasn't horrible.
DOA, Dead or Alive. I never watched that one. Postal, another Resident Evil. Hitman. I didn't think Hitman was incredibly offensive. It was pretty bad, but not that bad.
Right.
In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale.
Oh, awful.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite terrible video game movie because it's got fucking Burt Reynolds and Jason Statham, and like Burt Reynolds plays like the evil king or something. It was so stupid.
Right.
Far Cry, Max Payne. You remember Mark Wahlberg, Max Payne, that had all that Odin shit in it. It was terrible.
Yes.
Street Fighter: Legend of Chun-Li, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time with fucking Jake Gyllenhaal, where I don't know how they messed that one up, Kevin. That one, I
didn't even see that one.
It's not that bad, but I just don't understand. It came from a really kind of rock solid. It's got this all this the Egyptian kind of stuff. I don't know. If you can make The Mummy entertaining, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to make Prince of Persia entertaining. Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and then now we're up to the present. So the next one.
Do you really think Jake Gyllenhaal was the guy to be?
No, absolutely not.
I think that was the biggest problem was right there. Bad casting.
So the next one is I don't think anything good is coming up, but the next one with a solid release date is in March of next year. We're having the Needs for Speed movie with Aaron Paul, with Jesse Pinkman as the main character in a game that needs no main character. But you know what? I'm
Jesse Pinkman.
Yep. I'm going to roll down the list here, but Resident Evil, box office, $102 million. What's this one? Doom, almost $56 million. Silent Hill, $97 million. Postal, I'm sorry. I was looking at the numbers. Postal, $146,000.
Wow.
But Resident Evil Extinction, $147 million. Hitman made $99 million, almost $100 million. I don't know if this is gross or if this is a profit. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time says $335 million. Resident Evil Afterlife, $296 million. So yeah, as long as people keep shelling out money to go see these dumb things in the theater, Silent Hill, I have not met a single person who said anything good to say about the last Silent Hill movie, Silent Hill Revelation.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
$52,300,000. And it's got a 15 on Metacritic. Like, as long as that shit keeps happening, then they'll keep making them, because why not? You know, if you could churn out some garbage and make that much money, why the fuck not do that? I mean, sometimes people get real bent out of shape about, like, this is terrible, but, you know, people keep going to see it. If you're in the business of making money, I don't know. All right, a couple of questions that will be done. This next one comes in from Michael, and he says, which is more important, the content of the game or gameplay? Shooters are gameplay driven, but no one remembers Call of Duty as a game outside of one guy dying in nuclear blast, and I can't remember the story of Metal Gear since it was so dense. Max Payne is up there, but again, that was when there was no games like it at the time. I mostly wanted to read this email, Kevin, because I heartily disagree with his generalization, because I could tell you the story of Metal Gear. Like, you guys have 7 hours to sit down. I could sit down and rattle off the whole story of Metal Gear. I could tell you the story from Metal Gear or from Modern Warfare 4. I don't know. Do you remember the story of games after you play them? Is that the sort of thing that sticks with you?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I can't, not, you know, I don't, there's so many in my head, I can't really think of something that's going to pop out at me. Like, you constantly are talking about Metal Gear. I mean, it's, you know, it's always fresh in your brain, so I think that, yeah, you, of all people, would definitely be able to recite it word for word. Where's my video? That's what I got to find.
What's that? Where's your video?
I gotta find my Metal Gear video so I can save people from you. It's talking about it for 4 hours.
I mean, I guess here's we'll do a little experiment here. I'll put my money where my mouth is. Let's go back to earlier this year and let's look up a game that we reviewed earlier. Let's go back to. Let's go back even earlier. Let's see, Bioshock Infinite, I could tell you the story of that. Gears of War Judgment, I could tell you the story of that. StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, I could tell you the story of that. God of War Ascension, I could tell you the story of that. New Tomb Raider, I could tell you that story. I don't know. I guess maybe just the stories stay with me a lot longer. Crysis 3, probably couldn't tell you the story of that because it was so fucking generic. Dead Space 3, I could tell you the story of that. I don't know. I mean, I guess that, like, for me, maybe for me it comes down to the idea that, or the simple fact that, like, people are always on my ass, Kevin, about, you haven't seen this movie. What? You haven't seen that movie. What? But I play so many more video games than I see movies in a year that I could tell you the story of the video games, because, I mean, you know, the more that I could tell you the story of all the movies that have come out. Maybe that's where I'm just storing that particular thing in my brain. Like, I think I've always been under the impression that you can get away with lackluster gameplay as long as you have a really fucking kick-ass story. But if your game has, like, super awesome gameplay, but the story is just bleh, then I probably couldn't tell you what the story was years later. I don't know. It's more, that one is more important to me than the other. But that's just me. All right, one more question, and then I got to go walk my dog and go to sleep, as I said I was going to do before. Jeff and Kevin, this is a very simple question. What older arcade and or console game are you most anxiously awaiting to be released on Virtual Console, PSN, etc.? I'm eager to see the old NES game Jackal and the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game get a release. Thanks for reading, and I'm Batman Coochie Coochie Coo needs to be a Rage Select t-shirt. Oh, thanks, man. Sincerely, Tony Kearns. Do you look forward to any of this stuff? Well, let's make an interesting jumping off point for a conversation about, I mean, do you even care about the release of this stuff on the...
What stuff?
Virtual console stuff, like old NES games and stuff on the Wii or the Wii U or something like that.
I would if there were games that I, remember playing that I really wanted to play. But most of the time, it's stuff that they keep re-releasing 1,000 times. I don't need to play Donkey Kong anymore. I want to play some of the things that I played when I was a kid. Oh, by the way, YouTube, MGS3 Theater Existence Disc.
Okay.
All 3 hours and 28 minutes of it are on there.
All right.
So there you go, dude. You can watch and get caught up. But boy, man, bring some popcorn. 3 hours and 28 minutes. That's
considering the game itself is about 12 hours long, that's actually a pretty substantial cut down in the amount of time that's there. Yeah, so you don't really look forward to that sort of thing? Not the sort of thing that you're really ever looking at as far as...
I mean, it's okay. These 8-bit games, they don't have a lot of depth. And, I'd like virtual console games to be more like, hey, Super NES games or something, then you're starting to get more into it, as we get further into these classic games, I'd like to see stuff that's even, the progression goes further into PlayStation and up, but I really don't. I don't need to play these. I don't want to play Frogger anymore.
Yeah,
I just don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. I'll say, I'll actually tell the last thing the last game that really got me with that I actually ended up playing again was, they just released the Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut.
Sure.
Where they redid the boss battles and they added in commentary and they added in the DLC. But they had a really nifty little a really nifty offer for it where they said it was on Steam. They said that if you already own the game, because I think it was like $25 or something, but they were like, if you already own Deus Ex Human Revolution, it will cost you $10 to get the enhanced edition. If you already own the game and the DLC for the game, then it'll cost you $5. And this is the first day that it came out. And I did, because I bought all that stuff on a Steam weekend deal for $10 or something a while back.
Sure.
And that was more than enough incentive for me to go, well, hell yeah, for $5 I'll reinstall Deus Ex and take a look at it. Or I was just looking at the Steam weekend deal.
Do you know if they did that do you know if they upgrade the console game at all? I got it on 360 and kind of.
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I think that I don't even know if they released the director's cut on the Xbox. I know it was specifically.
They were talking about putting it on the Wii U, I thought.
Yeah. It came out for the Wii U. Let's see, Deus Ex director's cut.
Yeah.
Human Revolution director's cut.
It's a really good game. People should play it.
Yeah. No, especially I haven't. Wii U, PC, PS3, and the PlayStation Network. So, wait, two more: Xbox 360 and Mac. Okay, so it's out pretty much everything. Especially I didn't get far enough when I reinstalled it, but especially if they fixed the boss battles, because that was one of the biggest contentions in that game was that the boss battles were made by a third-party developer, so they sucked. But to be honest, Tony, I don't get really excited about replaying those games unless they're cheap. Super cheap, or they've added something back into it. So, don't know what to say. And with that, we are done. Sorry, I was just getting completely tunnel visioned by the Steam sales this weekend. They've got Call of Duty Juarez Gunslinger and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon on sale for $12.50. Like, that's a great deal, man.
Yeah.
I already own those two games, but I really want to I already own both of those, one on the Xbox and one on the PlayStation, but I'd really like to have both on the PC. This is my illness. This is the reason that I all my socks have holes in them, but I'm not buying new socks. I'm buying Call of Juarez and Far Cry 3. So, folks, if you want to send in a question, send your questions to mail@rageselect.com. It's mail@rageselect.com, and there is a link below in the description with the email address if you need to look for it there as well. So send us in your questions. Remember, they don't always have to be about video games. We get something that's entertaining, we will talk about it regardless of what it's about. And until then, Kevin, so are you ready? Let's get psyched, man. You and I. Next week.
Yeah.
PS4. PS4!
Woo! I am excited.
You sound excited.